So today we're going to dive into a story with a difficult but really important title. He left, but it never really ended. And, it's one of those stories that just makes you rethink what it actually means to survive something.
It all starts with this idea that I think most of us probably share. We believe that once you get out of a bad situation, once that door closes, you're done. The fight's over. You've made it. But for the person at the heart of this story, well, that couldn't be further from the truth. For him, leaving, that was just the start of a whole different kind of fight. And that brings us to our first section here, when the end begins. Because this is all about that huge misunderstanding, this idea that the story's over, when really it's just shifted into a new phase, a much quieter, more internal one. Because, some places, some experiences, they don't just stay where they happened. They follow you. They kind of move into your head and your body, and they stay there long after you physically walked away. So, what does that actually feel like? Let's get into it. We're calling this part the haunting aftermath, because even when he was technically free, he realized he was trapped in a whole new kind of prison, one that he carried inside him. And that aftermath is it's dominated by these constant battles. It's not like a bad memory you can push aside. It's a day-to-day reality filled with nightmares, the sense of always being on edge, and a trauma that his body physically holds on to. So, the nightmares, they come in two forms. The first is almost like a videotape. His mind just hits play, and he's forced to relive these awful moments from the program, scene for scene, exactly as they happened. And then there's the other kind, which in some ways is even more sinister. It's like his mind becomes this dark DJ, mixing the original traumatic memories with totally new fears, creating these mashups that are just terrifying in a whole new way. But look, this haunting doesn't just stop when he wakes up. During the day, he has to navigate trauma triggers, and these can be the most ordinary things. A specific sound, a type of room, a certain situation that just instantly snap him right back into that state of fear. And this right here, this distinction is absolutely crucial. A trigger doesn't just make him remember something, it makes him feel it all over again in his body. It's this physical gut-level reaction that you can't just reason your way out of. So all of this leads to what is, honestly, the most heartbreaking part of his story. We're calling it the unsolved problem. He was sent away to this program to get help, to be fixed. But instead, the wound was just made so much deeper. And this visual really lays it out. Before he went, he was already dealing with so much: depression, pain, emotional damage. After he left, all of that was still there. Nothing was solved. But now there was this whole new heavy layer of trauma piled right on top. I mean, can you imagine that feeling? The slow, devastating realization that the very place that was supposed to be the solution had actually become a huge part of the problem. It just added another source of pain to his life. So where do you even go from there? Okay, let's move on to our next section, finding a way forward. And this isn't some neat and tidy story about a full recovery. It's about the small, incredibly difficult first steps toward healing. He's found a few things that help him cope. Creative projects give him a way to get it out. Sharing little pieces of his story when he can helps him process it. And what's really amazing is he's trying to use what happened to him to raise awareness, hoping he can stop someone else from going through the same thing. But we have to be really honest here. He says he hasn't even come close to facing all of it. Sometimes it's too much. For him, healing isn't about erasing the past. That's impossible. It's about the long, slow, day-by-day process of figuring out how to live with it. So you might be thinking, why are we spending so much time on just one person's story? Well, it's because his experience carries this much bigger message. It's about why his story and so many others like it really, truly matter. And this quote, this is the whole point, right here. We build these huge systems, these programs, these institutions, and we call them solutions. But we can never forget that behind every single one of them, there are real people who have to live with the consequences, good or bad, for the rest of their lives. And to really feel the weight of that, there's one last critical detail you need to know: how old he was when he was sent away. 15. He was 15 years old, just a kid. He was only there for 6 months. It doesn't sound like a long time, does it? But those 6 months cast a shadow so long, it has stretched across decades, completely changing the entire course of his life. And that brings us to the final, most powerful truth of his whole experience. He says the real challenge wasn't just getting through it, wasn't just surviving. The hardest part, the thing he works on every single day, is learning how to live after. And that kind of leaves us with this one last haunting question. He had never told his story publicly before this. And it just makes you wonder, how many other people are out there right now walking around with similar stories locked away in silence? How many other stories just like this one are never, ever told?